Well, welcome everybody. It is 11 Central, which is where we're presenting from in the Twin Cities. So thank you all very much for joining us. We've got a great group of folks here, and I'm super excited to have you all with us. If you want, and if in the mode of enhancing our networking, if you'd like, feel free to chat in who you are, what company you're representing, and where you're chatting from. We'd love to hear from you and see how you're doing. And also during today's event, you can either chat or use the Q&A function to ask Michelle questions as we go through today.
Oh,
I
please ask me lots of questions.
Yeah, the more the matter, the more the merrier. I am Dave Meyer. I'm the president of BusyWeb. We are the hosts of the Twin Cities HubSpot user group, also being co-hosted to the Fractional Leadership and Manufacturing Midwest HubSpot user groups. So welcome to members from both of those places as well. So Adam with Wave Armor, hello. Thank you for joining. Triggy from Egan, welcome and hello. And I know that we've got a bunch going on. So as people are chatting, Michelle, take it away. And
Wow. Okay, we're just going to jump right into this.
yeah,
So, to provide any of you that maybe you weren't with us last time, this presentation is going to build on what we talked about last month as far as just your AI setup and using HubSpot Assistants. I'm going to dive a little deeper and talk about the agents and how they're different from the assistants. And I've got a little bit of follow up on the AI backend. So we're just going to get right into this. So we're going to talk about what they do, how to work with them. I'm going to do a live demo and we'll talk about Q&A and some other stuff. So the first thing I want you guys to think about is think of agents as a member of your team and not a replacement. They can't replace what you do. They don't have the judgment that you have. They don't have the work experience, the industry experience. There's a lot of things that AI will never be able to bring to the table, but they really are good teammates. And particularly the way to make them a good teammate is a little bit of AI governance. I want to make sure that you guys are aware that as we start to talk about moving from things that can just answer questions for you into AI that can actually do some work for you, that we think about how to set guardrails. The biggest thing I can tell you here is the more detail, the better. Every little field that you can fill out as you're setting up one of these, take advantage of it. You cannot give the AI too much detail. Make sure that you're aware of learning cycles. So, especially with HubSpot agents, there is a setting for either work autonomously or let me approve everything. When you first set one up and it's going through its first learning cycle, absolutely everything needs to be approved. You are probably going to find instances where you need to fine tune things. Then, once it's working as you want it to work, it's doing what you intend for it to do, you can set it on autonomous mode. But know that also, if things change, either the way you communicate, consumer behavior changes, that if anything changes that might affect what one of these agents are doing, you can absolutely switch it back into approval mode, refine, let it learn again, get it dialed back in, and then set it back on autonomous mode again. And as I say, you've got to keep the human in the loop. You need to be monitoring output, even if it's on autonomous mode, and be ready to make adjustments as things change. Like I say, AI doesn't have any judgment. It can't tell when circumstances in your business or circumstances with your customers are changing. You've got to provide that context and that expertise. Next thing. So, some of these things that AI agents in HubSpot can do, they take on a lot of the repetitive over and over and over. They're also really good at taking repetitive things and doing them at scale. So let me show you a little bit. Research and data. So I'm sure a ton of you are quite familiar with diving into your CRM and looking for answers to questions. One of the things that you can set up is what we're seeing here is an animation of the company research agent. So going to the internet and looking for additional information about, say, a target company that you're going after. The company research agent can actually do a lot of that work for you and save you a lot of time. And it can research way more companies than you can in any given period of time. So that's one thing that agents can do. They can also scale content development. So what we're watching this animation is the social post agent. And obviously it can take in a lot of information and then spit out all kinds of variations of social posts, as you can see here. And we're actually going to look at the social post agent and how to set it up. But again, it's one of those things where you're cranking out various versions of basically the same post depending on which channel. An AI agent can do that for you, at least get drafts ready for you and speed up and scale how much of this you can do for yourself. And it can also do personalized outreach and answers. So in this case, what we're looking at is how the customer agent can be configured to then go fetch answers from a knowledge base, all kinds of places, and help personalize answers and get things to a customer when they need it and work on their timeline at scale. Again, it's an agent. It can do this for multiple customers all at the same time, where we have to do it one customer at a time. Does anybody have any questions? I know I'm going through this bit fast, but I want to make sure that I leave plenty of time for the demo, but I want to make sure that I also address any questions that are popping up right away. All right.
I'm not seeing any yet, Michelle. Thank you.
All right. Well, give me a second. I'm going to exit out of the presentation because I'm going into hands-on mode. We're actually going to go into a portal, and we're going into our BusyWeb demo portal. Everything I'm going to show you is in our demo account. Before I hop into how to customize some of these agents, I do want to call your attention to a couple of things. So like I said, we're actually building on what we discussed last month. And one of the things that I took a deep dive into last time, and hopefully Dave's got a link for you, are the data sources that help inform and train all of the AI in your backend. We had covered brand, company profile, ICPs, products and services. I want to call your attention to the fact that, hey, there are 2 new tabs back here that were not there last month when we met. And I wanted to show you really quick that basically this is just more information to feed your AI. You can now put in buyer profiles and selling profiles. And I'm going to open this up just so you can see what it looks like. You have a profile type you can choose from either BANT or MEDIC, and it explains what those are. Basically, think of it this way, because I had to do some checking. It's like, wait a second, didn't we put our ICPs in? Aren't ICPs the same thing? They're really not. So as HubSpot continues to refine this, think of ideal customer profile as the way to define the companies that you want to go after as customers, and the buyer profile as more as the individual decision makers involved. So that's how HubSpot is beginning to make a distinction. They are now drilling in and breaking things apart a little bit. So your ICP should be how you define a company or an account that you want to attract, where the buyer profile would be more about the particular decision makers involved in making that purchase. Selling profile is exactly what you think it is. This is the profile of how, as a seller, as AI in, say, like a BDR, a business development rep, how it uses tone, communication style. This is just setting up like a super basic selling profile. For those of you that have already played in prospecting agent, this is kind of like seller profile light, back here in the back end, there is the opportunity inside of prospecting agent to really define selling profiles, particularly for that agent. But I'm not really going to walk you through how to set these up. That was addressed in our previous meeting. I just wanted to call out that there are a couple of new options that were not there last time. And then the other thing I want to look at, if you keep scrolling and go down through data management, for those of you that are using your betas and whatever, there is also a little bit more market information that you can now fill in and provide to the AI as well. So again, not going to dive into this because I know you guys want to see the agents. I just wanted to let you know that, there are some new features that you might want to go take a look at.
Michelle, as long as we're in here,
Uh-huh.
I have posted and pinned to the top a link to last month's presentation. And Tony had a couple of questions that
Yeah, sure.
go through. He asked if you will be demoing the data agent, and he had a comment on it that list information on companies isn't accurate. Is the data agent able to reach out to other sources to verify industry, company location, number of employees, and other areas?
Right on. So my plan, Tony, is to demo the social post agent, the prospecting agent, and maybe possibly the customer handoff agent for these, just because I want you guys to see like how certain parts of the portal and how setup might vary between agents. As far as the data agent, Tony, would you mind emailing me and I will track all that down for you? All right.
And you can send a note to hello@busyweb.com, or I believe we can probably just paste in. I'll paste in Michelle's email address if people have
Yes.
questions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think Tony may have mine already.
Oh, he probably does.
So back here to actually demo setting up a few of these agents. I have social post agent already set up. Back here, I want you guys to see that if you've been playing with one of these, never fear, you can always reconfigure. So when you are in Breeze, you can always go to Breeze Studio and find your agents. And pardon me. You can always find your agents and your assistants in your Breeze Studio. And like I said, social post agent I have been working with already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to configure. Come on, cursor. There we go. And I'm actually going to walk you through what all you might want to put in here for the agents. So as when we looked at assistants last time, if you recall, you could pretty much edit anything about an assistant. It's not quite the same when it comes to agents. So yes, you can manage inputs. Yes, you can manage access. Please feel free to poke through those as you like. But one of the things I want you guys to see is how the agent actually behaves. I'm going to call out something here. So if you hover over this agent instructions, what you will see is a warning that you can't edit this. And the reason you cannot edit this portion of any of the agent instructions is because there is a lot of workflow and a lot of programming built into these agents that is driven by these instructions. So there's a lot of actual platform coding that's associated with these instructions. So HubSpot has set this up in a way that at least this part of the agent instruction, you're not going to be able to edit or change because it is tied to the way the agent is hard coded inside of HubSpot. But what I want you to see is down here at extra instructions. This is the part of it that you can refine and fine tune any of your agents. You'll put that information inside extra instructions. And one of the things I did with our social post agent in our actual real life BusyWeb portal is I went and pulled in quite a bit of additional information that I worked with HubSpot Harry to develop. And I wanted to show that to you for just a moment. Let me get my tab so I can actually show it to you. So we are looking at a chat that I did with Hub Helper Harry, and I took it through a whole bunch of extra stuff, especially for getting handoffs and things that are unique to our business. And you can do this too. It doesn't have to be Hub Helper Harry. It can be whatever LLM you like to use. But in order to generate really good instructions for your agent, you may want to talk through them with an LLM and go, look, there are some things that are really specific to the way I want it to work, as opposed to how it's set up out of the box. Let's talk through this, and it will actually help you format and create the template that you need. So that's what I did with one of our internal agents, and then filled that into this extra instructions here. And I have to say, I was really impressed. Once I fine tuned it, it did a great job of it spitting out exactly what I wanted, or very close to what I wanted. Some of the other things that are involved in the setup of the social post agent is adding things that this agent can access. Do you want it to access the web? Do you want it to access your CRM? What other things do you want it to be able to do? And you have your knowledge base, or excuse me, knowledge vault. This is the same thing that we set up with assistants last time. Same process. And part of the reason why I wanted to show you Social Post Agent first was, as you can see, this configuration is very, very, very similar to how you configure an assistant. So if you've been playing with the assistants last month, you have all of the skill that you need to go now work with, say, social post agents. Do you guys have any questions? I'm not necessarily going to run a demo of social post agent in action. I just want you to know where to go to really set it up, fine tune it, refine it, make sure that it's actually going to do what you need it to do for your business. Some of the things that you can put in, say, extra instructions, or you can put it in your knowledge vault, is a lot more context about exactly what kinds of social posts you want it to create. What does it have an expertise in doing? Do you guys have any questions for me about configuring social post agent?
No questions yet. I'll let you know.
All right. Well, we're going to keep it moving. Prospecting agent is far more dense and far more intense in how it's set up, how it's configured. So we're going to jump into this one. I purposefully have not set up prospecting agent inside our demo portal because I did want you to see what this looks like if you're setting it up for the first time, rather than editing it as I've showed you before with other agents and assistants. So yeah, if you have never set this up, prospecting agent also does not live in Breeze. It's actually in your sales hub. So when you open up sales, you will see an option for prospecting agent. This is where you would go to use it as well as set it up. So I've hopped into prospecting agent, and now I want to set up the agent. And in the case of prospecting agent, because there is a lot of information that it works with, there, as you can see, there are several pieces to the puzzle. It actually takes you through a setup wizard rather than that single setup screen that we were looking at for social post agent. So in the case of this one, I'm going to set this up as an agent test, just because I have to fill in some of these. Yes, my agent may be testy, to be absolutely honest with you. We are going to put in the busy web URL. Give me just a moment. And let it analyze our website. This won't take but just a moment. Or it might take more than a moment because I'm actually showing this live, and that's always how that works out.
As we're doing that, Michelle, Skip just asked, can you explain what the prospecting agent actually does?
So the prospecting agent, think of it as like a business development rep. It's going to do a lot of your initial outreach and help you connect to new business and start to foster that relationship with people that maybe you haven't ever talked to before, or they visited the website, they're a little bit familiar, but you haven't actually directly communicated with them via email. So basically, the purpose of prospecting agent is all of those outreach emails that you have to do. Maybe you're doing them with sequences, but what prospecting agent is able to do is, rather than sending out a templated sequence, it's actually able to take in all of the information that it can find about each individual person that it's doing outreach for, and do a hyper personalized. And it's not just like, hey, first name. It's actually going, oh, hey, we see that you visited this page and you filled out information about this thing, and we see that you're already on your journey. We think that A, B, and C might be really useful to you. Are you interested in talk? It can get very, very personalized. And it's like having a BDR in there looking at each individual contact and writing customized messages to each individual person in order to do that outreach, which is why the prospecting agent needs all of this information. So, as I was talking, you guys watched, it analyzed the BusyWeb website and it came up with, like, what do we sell? What's our value proposition? What pain points do we solve for? Now, even though it did all of this scraping, you guys can come back and absolutely customize, refine, add more detail to any of this. You can then, as you can see, we can start picking what types of products and services we want included for um, context for our prospecting agent. What industries do we sell into? What types of job titles are we targeting? All of this selling information, I will say it over and over and over again, guys. You cannot give the AI too much detail. And because the AI doesn't have any kind of business context, it doesn't have any work experience, pretty much you need to tell it everything. And as a matter of fact, with AI, if you don't explicitly tell it something, don't assume that it can intuit it. It can't. It's an AI. It is not intuitive. It kind of behaves like it's intuitive, but that's because it understands language, not necessarily that it houses context somewhere. So again, the more explicit you can be and the more context you can provide it, the better these are going to perform for you. So,
Michelle, do have a couple follow-ups here.
mhm,
Skip also asked, would it actually send emails?
yes, it does send emails.
Perfect. And then Tom asked, does this work well with B2C?
It can. You're going to have to make sure that you configure this well for B2C and really think about your messaging. Again, this is meant for outreach. Hey, I'm going to reach out to you and see if you want. What it's actually designed to do is technically more the B2B side. I will call that out. Um, the best optimal use of this is to get it to do outreach to book sales meetings or discovery calls, that sort of thing is what it's technically designed to do. Can you adapt that to B2C? Yeah, sure. Especially if you're working with, say, high ticket items that your customers want to see a demo of, or want to discuss things with a salesperson. For example, maybe refrigerators or kitchen cabinetry, because that's B2C. Yes, things like that, great application for prospecting agent. If you're selling watches, maybe not so much. Does that help?
For sure. And I think maybe on the screen that you're sharing here, could you possibly, include the URL of the web store instead of the main domain?
Um, yes, you can, but as we work through this and we get to calls to action, you can also include your web store there
Oh,
as a way for the agent to actually point people places to. So let's look at selling identity and we'll also look at calls to action. So good
great.
question. We're getting to it. So when it comes to the identity, what we're talking about here is the identity of the seller. What BDR, business development rep, is this AI representing for you? So we're going to, for the most part, what usually tends to work, obviously, I am setting this one up. So it's defaulting to my profile. You can pick anybody in your portal, like Andy or Shabazz, or I could go find Dave and set this up as this is a particular selling profile for Dave. I will also call out that we're only going to set up one seller profile in this initial configuration. Prospecting agent has the ability to set up multiple selling profiles. So for those of you that have a sales team, you can set up a profile for each member of your team that is unique to the way that they communicate, the way that they write outreach emails, that sort of stuff. But in the case of this initial setup wizard, it's only going to ask you for one identity. So if that helps you at all, do not worry that you're only setting up one seller profile at the moment. You will have an opportunity later on to include more profiles in your prospecting agent for the rest of your team. Um, Basically, this is just saying, hey, we're going to do this as contact owner. So in this case, it could be anybody that owns a contact in our system, and the fallback would be me. Um, let's see. What's it asking for? I think I can go ahead and click next. It's reminding me also as well that you can choose credits. Oh, it's saying that I can't go any further because I don't have an inbox set up for this one. So that's okay. What I can do really quick is just know that as you're working your way through it, you will go to calls to action, outreach options, etc., etc. What I'm actually going to do really quick, because I also have permission from our sales team to show you our actual prospecting agent in our portal. So I'm going to pop over there real quick so that you can see the rest of the configuration. La la la. So there's our prospecting agent. And I'm going to go into the agent setup. So for those of you that have been playing with it and you kind of sort of have it, this is where you would go to edit the configuration. And I have a selling identity that I can show you. So here's where we were earlier, where we were talking about who it's sending to, who's the fallback sender. Here's our tone. So this is the tone of how emails and outreach are written by the prospecting agent. You can either preset a tone, for example, using your brand voice or anything else. Or again, you can choose to use brand voice and fine tune some of this. If I switch over to here, you can see that this little window is similar to what we were looking at with the initial setup. Anyway.
Michelle, quick question. Tom also asked, are credits explained in the previous hug?
Credits, thank you for asking that. Unfortunately, credits are still a little interesting to explain. I did not get into credits in the previous hug because we were talking about assistants, and most of the assistants do not consume credits. Um, I will be honest with you that if you guys have questions about credits, it's going to be a lot more beneficial for you to contact me with your specific questions about credits, and I will do my best to answer those, because honestly, it's the typical SEO answer when it comes to credits. It depends. It depends on how many contacts you want to reach out to. It depends on how much information you're asking the agent to pull. there's a lot of variables in determining how many credits it's going to consume. So that one's one I'm going to advise you guys to reach out to me individually and give me a really specific scenario, and I can drill down into exactly how it's going to consume credits. I That's not maybe the most satisfactory answer for you in the moment, but it's the best one I can give you. I hope that's okay with you
That's great.
guys.
Thanks, Michelle.
Sure. So going back, like I said, because this is writing outreach information, we want to be able to make sure that it's using the right tone for the right person. That's why you can configure these per seller profile. So for instance, if this was generating outreach email for me, I don't write my emails the same way Dave does. And I would like to be able to make my personal prospecting agent really mimic the way that I write, so that there isn't this disconcerting, like, oh, I thought I was talking to Michelle, but now I'm actually talking to Michelle and she writes differently. This is kind of weird, because we want the prospecting agent to set up a reasonable degree of expectation that their experience with us, even if it's getting handed from an agent to a live person, that it's consistent. That's why the tone and the writing style are so important. Prospecting agent does have the ability to enable multiple language setup, and as you can see here, it will use preferred language to a degree. This is based on the languages that HubSpot has built into it and is able to do. Obviously, if you guys are just in the US, or maybe you're even regional, maybe you're just Midwest, then this is a setting that you don't necessarily need to turn on. Everybody's going to be communicating in English and it's fine. But the option is there. So then we go to sources and training. So this is where I was talking about selling information. We looked at this before. This is the same information that we were looking at. And as you can see, I took the time to refine this one for our team inside our own portal. So you can see there's a lot more products and services. I've defined the industries a bit better. I've added more job titles so that this is getting all of the information that it can possibly need. We did look at that in the initial configuration wizard. The call to action, the bit that I didn't get to in initial setup, is here. So there's a lot of things in here. Obviously, like I said, this is operating per individual person. So we can use the individual sender's meeting link. So if it were doing outreach for me, it would send my HubSpot meeting link. If it's doing outreach for Dave, it will send Dave's meeting link. You can include documents. So if some of you guys have like digital brochures or one pagers, things that you frequently send to new contacts, you can include all of those documents that you like to send out, put them in here, and let the prospecting agent use them. And your question earlier about, can I send somebody to the shop page? Here is where you can include the URL for shopping, or in our case, what I did for this particular seller profile is that it can send people to our case studies page to learn a little bit more about like what we've done in the past, where our clients have found success, because often that is a big question that people have, is they're just getting introduced to us, is like, what all do you do and how does that actually work in the real world? So in this case, this particular selling profile is able to send people to our case studies. Any questions yet?
Yep, we have a couple more.
Mhm.
As part of the setup process, does this work with personas?
It does, but that is based on the ideal customer profile, the ICP that's
Mm-hmm.
set up in your AI in the back end. And it will also pull that new tab that I was pointing out to you about buyer profile. It will also use that. So when it comes to personas, that's where you need to go set that up, is in the settings for AI, the
Yeah.
ICP and the buyer profile.
And those are brand new. So, looking at
ICP
that,
has been in there. It's
yeah,
the buyer profile that's new.
yeah. So if you set these up before, it'd behoove you to go back and check them out again.
Yeah.
And then Tony also asked, will these emails go out through a mailbox's outgoing mail server, or does it go out through HubSpot's mail server?
It goes out through how you've set up so it's acting on behalf of a particular salesperson.
Right.
So in the case of us here at BusyWeb, it will go out through Dave's at BusyWeb email.
Yeah. And so then it's just through our normal mail server. And so you don't have to worry about, potential issues with multiple domains or weakness on IPs.
Yep.
Cool.
It's basically the reason why I called out sequences earlier is that basically the prospecting agent is doing very similar things to what a sequence has been able to do. It's just doing it in a much more individualized, a lot more better researched. It doesn't have to use a template. It's now actually crafting new emails per person, but it is still sending it out as a one-to-one email, just like your sequence does.
Cool.
So, guardrails. Let's look at the autonomous mode. So, like I said, when you first set up anything, it defaults to review before sending. So, what we're going to look at in a moment is a little bit of the output of what this agent will do. And basically, it gives you a list of the email messages that it intends to send out based on who you've got enrolled with this agent. And you get to read through and determine, is this the email that I want to send? Do I want to edit? You can edit email by email by email when you're in review mode. That review mode is also learning from your edits. So when you go open up an email to review, if you make any changes, the AI is learning, like, what things do you consistently change to my output? And it will learn from, okay, this is what you want from my output. I'm going to keep doing that over and over again. Eventually, it'll get to the point where you open it up and you have no edits to make. You say, oh, this is great, just send it. When you're consistently seeing a whole bunch of emails that you don't have to do any editing to, then you can switch to autonomous mode where the agent sends the emails without review based on what you've been doing with it in its learning mode. And I will remind you that should you go in and update any of these other settings that we had looked at before we got to autonomous mode, go ahead and set it back to review and learning mode again, because you've changed its instructions somewhere in this process. You really do need to go back into review mode for a while. Outreach guidance. So I highly recommend that you guys turn all of this stuff on and actually use it. So you can tell it, I only want you to do this on business days. Even more so, I'm going to give you the window that I want you to send it to, what time zone you want to use, and how often you want to send these. This is to make sure that it's not looking like some sort of automation where it is mass blasting, because that's not what it's intended to do. It's intended to mimic human, one-to-one email behavior. So you do have the ability to set limits on how often it's going to do this. And then advanced mode. Remember what I said about detail? I absolutely wholeheartedly recommend that you turn this toggle on and provide it as much additional extra context that you can give it. And this is probably the one thing that you will come back and edit often as you see things changing. This is kind of the golden nugget in all of this, is being able to provide it with additional custom instructions. And again, this is an opportunity. If you're not sure exactly how to write it, go to one of the other LLMs, whether that's Gemini or whatever you're comfortable with conversing with. Go have a conversation with it and go, look, I'm trying to dial in this particular thing and I need for it to do A, B, C, and D. What would you recommend? Help me write the custom instructions for this particular agent. You can absolutely do that. Questions, comments?
Yeah, I think we're This is all super helpful. Tony had a little bit of a nuts and bolts question. Um, I find that when I'm sending emails from the HubSpot web interface, the deliverability isn't as reliable as when I'm sending the same email from Outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Does HubSpot provide best practices to increase deliverability or offer any troubleshooting? I'm gonna posit a potential issue where you might have something in your HubSpot sent signatures or your setup that
Mm-hmm.
is adding something that's just kind of dinging the deliverability, where you might have a cleaner send from Outlook where you don't have the same text or other things.
Right.
Any other gotchas or common issues, Michelle, that you know?
I would say probably the most common thing that I see is people using mass email sources like Industry Select or Zoom Info or something like that, where you're sourcing your emails for outreach from one of these mass email providers. I would highly recommend, if that's where you're starting, that you need to validate and make sure that those emails are working. Because even if you're doing one-to-one emails, if you're emailing somebody's basically spam catcher email address, um, the deliverability on those is going to go down.
Hmm. For sure. Do you know if there's a spot in HubSpot, like in settings or in support, where you can look at email deliverability?
There are some there's some information inside of reports for deliverability. HubSpot does not, however, actually do any quote unquote validation like you would get with Kickbox
Hmm.
or Zero Bounce or any of those validators. It is worth it to take the extra step and use the email validators. And then, actually, one of the best practices that we at BusyWeb use is to run it through a validator, and then the output of that validation cycle we actually use as filters to put emails and things into our email suppression list.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. So, what I wanted to show you guys is inside of Prospecting Agent, now you see that it's generating emails. So, I have full permission. I checked with my sales guys. Trigby said, yeah, it's fine. Review email. So if you open this up, you'll see there's your list of contacts that it's been doing emails for. And you can now look through all of what it did to make decisions, why it did what it did, and then there's the email for review. So you are able to review this, you're able to edit it, and then once it's all done, you can, in this case, it looks like Shabazz said, let's redo this one, and it actually did a second email. It can either generate a new email if you want to do it that way, or you can edit it yourself and then approve it and send it on its way. But I just want you guys to see, like, what's the output? What does it look like when it's actually doing what it's doing? Here's where you get your output. And this is going to look different for everybody as far as the exact messaging. So it's really important for you guys to take a look at these and start to look at it, understand it. I also want to call out that there's a lot of data. There is reporting at the agent level on how well this is working, deliverability. So you can see how many are going out, all that kind of stuff. You can also go back to and see what emails is it going to be sending out. There's a lot of data and information. So as you see, now we're looking at the enrollments, like how many people are enrolled, how many need to be reviewed, how many are in progress going out, were there any errors, what's finished. So there's a lot of data and information as to how well this is working, how often it's working. Please go play in it. There's a lot in here. And then, just so you know, here's your enrollment. You can manually enroll either companies or contacts. So you can enroll them here from the agent. I believe also in the sales workspace, you can enroll people into the prospecting agent if you want. So if you're working, say, your leads inside of Sales Workspace, you can add the prospecting agent to that outreach process of your normal process for working leads.
Thanks, Michelle. We did have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Adam asked, do the prospecting agents automatically request the review from the attached salesperson, or can they be reviewed by anyone in the sales team?
I believe they can be reviewed by anybody in the sales team.
But the attached salesperson will get a task or notified, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And Trigby also had a comment that he doesn't automatically send like the automated, and he does recommend reading through before you send these.
Excellent. Trigby and Shabazz both. Either of you want to, because they are the people on our team that have been using this. If you guys want to include any more color commentary on this prospecting agent, please by all means do so.
Yeah, Trigby, just let me know if you want to join on, and I can make you presenter as well.
Yeah, absolutely. How are we doing on time, Dave? I do have one more to show people if we've got time.
14 minutes to the top of the hour. I know Tony did ask about the data agent. Trigby said you're doing great, and he doesn't need to join to add his commentary.
Thank you, Trigby.
Yes.
The other one I want to show you is actually the customer handoff agent. This is another one that I spent some time configuring and customizing, and I also want to show you that one. It's pretty fun and cool. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did with prospecting agent, and I'm going to pop over and show you that one because I have set this up for us internally, and there's no customer information. Whoops, we didn't go over. The way the setup of it is not disclosing any in particular of our customers, so I can do this without violating anybody's privacy. So in the case of handoff agent, you do need to go to your Breeze Studio, and there's my agent that I was setting up, and I'm going to open this up. Thank you for the pop-ups. So again, I want to remind you that the agent instructions are the bit that you can't edit, but I wanted to show you. So here's me adding extra instructions on what kinds of output do I want? How do I want the handoff agent configured? Like what triggers when the handoff agent is actually going to generate all of this information for, say, a sales to customer success like handoff. There it is. I wrote quite a bit for this handoff agent because there's particular bits of information that we internally at BusyWeb really need in order to take something that sales has done and start actually providing service to our clients. So I asked it for a whole awful lot, and it actually did a fantastic job. I ran a test of this last night, and it gave me like a 4-page document about a new client that we're onboarding with the ops team, and it provided me with some really phenomenal information. But it's really interesting. One of the things I want to call out that I was able to provide the handoff agent with extra information was, how do I want this triggered? And for us, I don't want it necessarily triggered when it's closed won. I actually don't want it to trigger until we've received our first payment. So I'm able to provide it with that specific of an instruction. So as much as you might feel like reading the instructions up here, it's like, man, that's super, super specific, and I'm not even sure if it's really what I want it to do. Trust me, you can come in here and provide it with all kinds of extra instructions to get it to do what you really need it to do. Let me see. I ran a test. Dave, do we want to actually like run a quick agent test and let them see what handoff agent can do? I want to make sure that I'm being mindful and careful because this is going to spit out information about stuff that's in our CRM.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't do that
Yeah.
Out of our portal just in case some customer data would pop. But if we wanted to run something on the other side, I think that's fine. We also are at 10 minutes till the end of the scheduled time.
Yep.
So now would be a
And
great
that
time to
is my signal
Q&A.
to
So
probably hop back over here.
yeah.
I know you guys have been asking questions as we went, but I want to definitely provide some formal Q&A time and let you guys take over and ask me any further questions that you want to know about agents in general or whatever. I hear you, Tony. It's just that data agent is, again, it's one of those special configurations. I want to make sure that I give you what you need. So
Yeah,
we
so
can
maybe
we can do that offline.
one-ish would be a good idea. And I had posted your email address in the chat. And as a note, I also did post up a link to our LinkedIn group, the HubSpot Twin Cities LinkedIn group. And also, if you missed the recording from last time, that is currently pinned to the top of the chat.
Very
So
cool.
keep the questions rolling. And if you'd rather just talk, I can make you a presenter. So just note in chat, talk please, and I will make you a presenter so that we can hear you. You don't have to share your video if you don't want, but if you'd rather talk, go ahead.
Dave, is there anything in particular that came up? I know because you spend a lot of time dealing with AI.
Yeah.
Were there any things that you were spotting that kind of make you curious as you were seeing this run through?
The thing that occurs to me is, people are probably, and I know that you covered this in the last one, but like, how do you even get started in agents? Like, I'm sure we talked a little bit about agent AI and the fact that you can just go to the website and browse some of these.
Oh, good call out. No, I
marketplace.
actually didn't cover
Okay.
anything with Agent AI. So
Oh,
if you
yeah.
want to like provide some context, please do.
Sure. So the CTO of HubSpot created a website called agent.ai. And that is super, super helpful. And it gives you basically a marketplace of all kinds of AI agents, not just HubSpot related. That does tend to be the place where people launch and kind of announce their new HubSpot related AI agents first. And there is an entire marketplace around that. So you can get into those, and it ties into, it seems to be the breeding grounds where the official HubSpot supported ones get access into. So you can see most of those. As I've been chatting here, Adam just asked, can you add past email responses to the agents that would allow it to learn and respond similar to the salesperson it's being created for?
That is possible, I'm going to say, but I haven't tested it and played with it and how exactly is the best way to do that.
Yeah.
My honest answer would be, rather than providing exact emails in that way, one of the things that I might recommend that you do is take a sampling of one particular person's outreach emails and run it through. And I will call out Claude for this in particular. Claude seems to really do a great job of understanding writing style in ways that I don't see some of the other LLMs doing. So what you may want to do, rather than feeding the actual prospecting agent your examples of email messages, take those examples into Claude, feed them to Claude, and say, Claude, describe this particular writing style. How would I guide another AI agent to use this particular style for this particular salesperson? Let Claude spit out that description and then provide that to your prospecting agent.
Sure. So you can load those up and you can use them.
I believe Gemini can do similar things too, but
Yeah.
for me personally, I've just really liked the way Claude processes writing style.
And we're talking agents specifically here, but reminder for everyone that there also is the ChatGPT integration, and the Gemini integration is in beta. It's technically in alpha still, I believe, but we've been playing with it at BusyWeb, and very, very helpful. And you can just use those tools. So like internally at BusyWeb, we are using Notebook LM as a consolidation point, and we're using that to inform the individual conversations that we have with clients, with specific ICPs and personas, and all of those things that go into it. So again, it's like all things AI, where you really have to be in the mindset of sandbox and playing with these
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful, and feel free to reach out to us if you want to just kind of true up anything that you're planning to do. Leaving the automations off until you're sure that they're actually going
Right.
to do what you want them to do and that you've tested them a little bit is super helpful.
Well, and
And
I want to remind people that that setting is an at-will setting. So even if you've had it running autonomously for a while, go review it. Look at what it's producing every so often. Like, in the case of prospecting agent, I honestly, given how much output it could be allowed to do, I would at least once a month go dip into that and see, is it still doing a good job? Because I may want to flip it back to let me review all of this and fine tune. And if it is kind of meandering in a direction that you don't want it to go, absolutely switch it back over to review mode, review it for a while, make it relearn, and then you can set it back into autonomous. It's not like one of those situations where, oh, once I let it go, it's going forever. No, not at all. You can always toggle it back and make it relearn if you need to.
perfect. Yeah, Michelle, I have a general question
Mm-hmm.
for us. We've been talking about our programming coming for 2026, but we don't have anything officially listed on the Hub page yet. Can you give us a preview or a teaser of where we think we're going in the next, like in January, February? I know we've got some
Interestingly
networking
enough, we're
office
still
hours.
kind of discussing that
Mhm.
internally. I know that one of the things that we want to do is start doing a few more open office hours. I don't know how many of you were here for office hours when Nicole and I were just like rapid fire answering people's questions, but we will be doing some more of that. Um, there may be some more of this AI related stuff, because one of the things that we're working on internally is an entire AI readiness. Like, what all do you need to do to your portal to make sure that it's optimized and it's truly ready? Yes, those AI settings that I showed you guys previously are important, but you also need to look at like your data quality. There's
Mhm.
so much more to making sure that your portal is truly, truly AI ready. And odds are pretty good that that content is going to come up as part of like the next quarter's worth of um, content that we're going to be doing for these hugs. But in all honesty, we're still trying to figure it out internally. So
Yeah.
that's about as much of a clue as I can give you at the moment.
Which is a plug to please let us know if you have a specific topic
Yeah.
that you would like to see, because these are about serving the community. Our core values are, of course, education, fun, and integrity, and education is paramount in that. So if you have something that you really want to hear from the HubSpot user group or just from our team, BusyWeb also runs busy webinars on the second Wednesday of each month. So keep up with us at busyweb.com/events. And thank you all very much for joining us. We're at 2 minutes to the top of the hour. Unless there's one last burning issue question,
Last
I'd
question.
love to hear it. So cool. Well, then let's do this. Michelle, thank you for sharing your knowledge. And thanks for all the attendees for a great and interactive session. I hope this was helpful for you. I learned a bunch. So thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you in the new year. Bye, all.